So hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Home and Garden with Nick. We are having dinner this evening and I want to make out spring has come, although it's frosty outside and winter is definitely here with us. I want to do a nice centerpiece for the table. So today's video I'm going to show you, I started off some hyacinth bulbs out in the garden and I'm going to show you how to do a simple display inside a nice bowl, any bowl of your choice, or even if you just want to do it in a terracotta pot. Let me put my tea down there. It's a delicious cup of tea that Chris made for me. So I'm going to do that, and then later on we're going to be using up all the leftover chocolates from Christmas and we're going to be making a chocolate biscuit cake. Very simple, and it's a good way of getting rid of any bits of chocolate that's around the house that you want to put into a cake, as opposed to sitting in front of the TV or in front of Nikolai on YouTube and eating them. So here we go. All I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this beautiful blue and white bowl with some compost. And I've got some hyacinth bulbs here, which I started off outside, and they've just got some roots and they're not going to flower just yet, but I will come back to them later to show you what they look like when they are flowering in the bowl. So bear with me. If only life was as magical as 1, 2, 3 and we could watch all of it together, but we can't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to 3/4 fill my bowl with soil. I'm going to leave half of the bulb of the hyacinth sticking out, which I will show you. And then we're going to put some moss. We've got some nice twigs from the garden, which has got some lovely moss growing on them. They're freezing cold. And the moss has actually got ice on it because I've been out foraging for it in the woods this morning. We've got a little bird to go on there for detailing. And we've also got our Buddha, which is going to bring me good luck for this year. Not that I need any of that, but there we go. So I'm going to bring my blue bowl to this bucket to fill up with compost because I don't want to make a mess all over the table. I've put some plastic on there just to keep it from going everywhere. Okay, so that's enough compost. You want to leave space at the top to be able to water and put your moss on top as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to set in my hyacinth bulbs randomly, and I'm going to leave quite a bit of the bulb exposed. Press down on your compost to make sure they stay nice and secure, because they will need to be nice and secure, because once they start flowering they get top heavy and they tend to topple. They can also be at different heights. You don't need to worry too much. Somebody always said never plant in even numbers. So I have 6 bulbs, but I'm only actually going to put 5 because I think they look nice, just the 5 of them. And then I'm going to get some twigs. And these will also act as a support for the hyacinths as they come up through and start to flower. Okay, so I've just added my twigs and now I'm going to add my moss. And this moss is still frozen. So I'm just going to break off some moss. Get the nice lush green stuff because that looks really pretty. And you want to just poke it in and around your twigs so to fill up all the gaps. This also helps for watering it, to stop the soil from splashing up on you when you add your water. And again, leaving some of your bulb exposed because that too is quite nice, that raw look. I just opted for this centerpiece instead of fresh flowers because I don't have time to go to the shop or to the florist. And anyway, I don't think the florist at the weekend has the best array of fresh flowers. So it's good to make do with what you've got. Okay, you guys, so it's almost complete, and now you can just be as fun as you want to be with it. I'm going to add in there my little Buddha, who's going to just sit amongst the moss, and then I'm going to just top one of my twigs with my little bird. If I can find a nice twig to place him on, so he looks like he's about to fly away. I think maybe one lower down is nice. There we are. He looks like he's making a dive for something he spotted, some little bug that he spotted. And there we go, my friends. That is just a beautiful hyacinth centerpiece, just to show us that spring is on its way, cheer us up, and make us believe that everything in life is wonderful. And as these hyacinths pop up to show their beautiful purple and pink scented smell, I will take a little video and I will add it to this to show you how they're getting on. So please do attempt something to be creative. It helps to lift your spirits. When you're feeling down and all these frosty winter mornings, dark mornings are getting to you, something that will give you an edge to let you know that spring is on its way. Sometime soon. We don't know when. Scooter's not giving any great help, is he? Because he's in bed snoring away like as if he can't be bothered to get out of bed today. Okay, you guys, so now for that delicious chocolate biscuit cake. So, this cake, I have made it very adult-like because I actually made this cake for my wedding day as one of the wedding cakes. And I have to say, people were talking about it for weeks after, how delicious it was. So it's your standard chocolate biscuit cake, but I've added some additions to make it a little bit more grown up. You can pare it back if you fancy making it for maybe a young person's birthday or a child's birthday, or there's any of the ingredients I put in here you don't like, just omit them. It's not going to make any difference to the actual cake itself. So let me tell you what you need. You need a cake tin. You can use round or square. I like the square because it makes it easier for cutting as opposed to, it's a very rich cake, so you don't want to give somebody a big wedge, like a big wedge of cake. So a nice little sort of finger-sized piece is nice. And it's also good for birthdays because you can cut it and get a lot more portions out of it than you can a round one. But it's up to you. Make whichever you prefer. This is a 9-inch square cake tin, and all I've done is I've lined the base of it with a piece of greaseproof paper. Okay, and that will just help for when I want to slide it off onto its serving dish. So, we have in this bowl here 400 grams of ginger nut biscuits, and I'm going to crush them. And basically, the way I'm going to crush them is just with a potato masher, because you don't want them to be complete crumbs. You want them to have some big pieces as well in the bowl. So you can literally even just break them with your hands and then finish them off slightly with the potato masher. But don't put them into your food processor because they'll come out too broken, and then they won't have that nice crunchy texture in the middle of the cake. So you can always think of somebody you don't like whilst doing this. And on that note, I will give you today's news. Today's news is Peggy has returned to the chateau in France as she has been cordially invited, excuse me, to do a photo shoot for a wedding venue. So this chateau that's being all renovated, I think they are under the strange illusion, wherever they got it from, that Scooter and Peggy will be wed there. No such thing on this planet is going to happen, not whilst I'm alive. So we've let her head off for her photo shoot to the castle and the chateau in France, and we are going to stay here and we are going to do chocolate biscuit cake. Maybe this will be on the menu for the wedding and we can make it completely Scooter and Peggy proof. Okay, so that's my biscuits crushed. Okay, then the next thing you need is you need 275 grams of butter. I have put in this bowl here 100 grams of flaked almonds and 100 grams of chopped walnuts, and I have toasted them on a dry pan to bring out the nuttiness as I do. 100 grams of desiccated coconut and 50 grams each of cherries, washed, dried and quartered, and also some stem ginger, which adds a little bit of heat to this cake. Again, if there's anything in this bowl or anything in any of these bowls you don't like, leave it out, except the chocolate. You mustn't leave out the chocolate. And that's all nicely finely chopped. In this bowl here, I have 90 grams of golden syrup. Now, for my American friends, you don't have golden syrup, but what you do have is you have corn syrup, and apparently it's very similar.
Oh, is it treacle something?
No, sorry. It's not 90, it's 150 grams of golden syrup. So 150 grams of corn syrup or 150 grams of golden syrup. Then I have got 225 grams of chocolate. Now I have used up the leftover chocolate that's been here since Christmas. Okay, so that's like little pieces of fudge, little Cadbury's cream egg type things, some munchies with caramel, some chocolate drops, and I've also added some dark chocolate squares to this. Then we have a glaze, which will go over the top, which will be our chocolate glaze. And for that, you need 75 mils of double cream. Okay, 50 grams of icing sugar, and it must be sifted in your bowl. Okay, and then you also need 100 grams of good quality dark chocolate. Okay, so that's in there. That's separate. We're going to do that at the end. So first of all, in my saucepan, which is on the heat, I'm going to add my butter. And to my butter, I'm going to add my golden syrup. And I'm going to let that all melt down with the chocolate, all in the pan. You can also do this in the microwave if you wish. But I like to keep you entertained here at the cooker. So, there we are. I must say, I'm really pleased with my flour display that I did earlier. It's going to be amazing when it does flour. But just something nice and fresh to put on the table to say Christmas has ended and spring is on its way. Okay, so you just want to warm that all through until it's all combined and nicely melted. And then we will let that cool ever so slightly, and we will add to that our biscuits, our coconut, our cherries and ginger, and our chopped nuts. Then we will pop it all into our tin and we will put it into the fridge for a couple of hours to set. In the meantime, we will make our glaze for over the top, our chocolate glaze for over the top, and then we will pour that over the top and allow that to set also. And then, my friends, we will have a delicious slice with a cup of Irish tea. What do you think, Scoots? You're in agreement? Okay. Okay, so the chocolate is melted, so I'm going to add in here my cherries and my ginger, which is all chopped up. Good idea to add them to the biscuits because the crumbs of the biscuits then help them to dry off if they're still a little bit wet, and separate them so that they don't all stick together and just stay in one part of the cake. Then into that we're going to add our nuts, which is our flaked almonds and our walnuts, chopped walnuts, and just mix them through also, like so. And then into that we're going to add our desiccated coconut and mix that through. And finally, into that we're going to add in our wet ingredients, which is our chocolate. Now there will still be a few lumps and bits and pieces in the chocolate, which is fine because that's just basically bits of caramel and bits of nougat from the sweets that we used that were left over from Christmas. If you're fortunate enough to not have any sweets left over from Christmas, you can just use plain either milk chocolate or dark chocolate, whatever you prefer. Okay, so that's all combined now, the chocolate and the biscuit, and you can see how delicious that looks. And now basically I'm going to pop that into my tin. press it down, make sure there's no air bubbles in there, and then pop it into the fridge and allow it to set for a few hours. So let's go. Yeah, I'm just going to get my spatula out here and get all this goodness out of this bowl. Make sure none of it goes to waste. Once you've got it all into your tin, you just want to press it down with the back of the spoon to make sure you remove any air bubbles. And so it's nice. Delicious. And that's going to go into the fridge to set. Okay, so chocolate biscuit cake is chilled and it's set nice and firm, and I've taken it out of the fridge, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to release it, and by doing that I'm just going to put a knife into some boiling water in a cup. Just let the knife heat up, and that'll just help to release the chocolate from the side of the tin. Just do that all the way around. Okay. Okay, now I have a pot warming. Into that pot I'm going to put my chocolate and my butter, and I'm going to let that melt. And then in another very small pot here I've got a little bit of white chocolate and a tiny drop of cream. And that's basically going to melt down, and that's just for the decoration over the top. Okay, so chocolate is melted, and I'm going to just stir into that now the powdered sugar, the confectioner's sugar, and kind of beat it in as I'm going. And also I'll stir in the cream. Okay. And I have that little bit of white chocolate melting there, which is melting nicely. You can just pour it over the top of your chocolate biscuit cake. Wow, doesn't that look decadent? Okay, and then just tease it out. It'll drip down the sides, which is fine. I can see in the cake the flecks of coconut and the almonds and all of that, which is really nice. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drizzle over my white chocolate over the top. Okay, and now we're just going to drizzle over our white chocolate. Just drizzle it over like that, and then you're going to get your wooden skewer or your sharp edge of your knife, and you're literally just going to drag it through to make a nice swirly design. Okay folks, and there you have it. Chocolate biscuit cake. Not for the faint-hearted, might I add, and plenty of calories to put onto those hips. But you know what? It's early days in the new year. You've got all of 2025 to work it off. A minute on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. So folks, join me for a cup of tea when this is set and a slice of chocolate biscuit cake. Scooter is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but he's not getting any. Now it's time for tea and cake. Look at that. This is for me. And that piece also. You can taste the coconut, the chocolate, the nuts. Everything tastes really good. The ginger is coming through as well from the biscuits. Hurry up, Chris, I need tea. I don't even need a fork, I'm going to eat it with my fingers. Thank you for watching. Please make the chocolate biscuit cake and don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you very soon for another video. Take care, my friends. From Nikolai, Chris and Scooter in the west coast of Ireland. Bye-bye.
Peggy in France.
Oh, and Peggy in France, if you must.